Hi everyone, I'm Michał from Airhead, and today we'll go through a couple questions from the subject of AirLaw. So without any further ado, let's just jump straight into these questions. All of these has been seen in the past month in real EASA exams, so I hope that this quick session will help you understand the topics, and if not, it will help you refresh the most recently seen questions. So let's jump straight into them. And the first question is as follows. Which of the following examples indicates an uncertainty phase situation? So remember that AKO's Annex 12, it outlines three cases in terms of any type of emergency situations. And these three phases are divided as follows into an uncertainty phase, alert phase, and distress phase. So, of course, uncertainty phase is the one where uncertainty exists. So, we do not know for sure if the aircraft is safe and what is happening to its occupants. For the alert phase, obviously, the situation uh, is that we are not fully sure what is happening, but we are sure that something is happening. And of course, the distress phase is a situation where we are sure that there is a potential and real threat to the aircraft and its occupants' safety. So, knowing this, the uncertainty phase, of course, will be the one where the position of an aircraft is uncertain, as we are not sure what is happening, and we're not sure if the thing that's happening is dangerous. Hence, we're uncertain. This is quite straightforward. However, remember the three phases: uncertainty, alert, and distress, as these will show up on the exam. Now, going to question number 2. What is the minimum ceiling for a special VFR clearance to be issued? So, for this question, first of all, remember what the minimas for VFR in general are. So, of course, we have to be 1,500 meters horizontally from a cloud and 1,000 feet vertically from a cloud in VFR with visibility of 5 kilometers. Special VFR rules allow us to decrease these minimums significantly, and they're only to be used in controlled airspaces if we need to quickly depart from a bad weather area or quickly arrive um, to an airport where the weather is worse than we expected and we're flying under the visual flight rules. So the special VFR is a very unique type of flight where these minima, the VFR minima, can be significantly reduced. So of course, there are some things that need to be met by the pilots. In case of special VFR, like this one, the pilot has to be clear of clouds and has to have the surface in sight always. Remember, this is a VFR flight. The flight visibility must not be less than 1.5 kilometers. So we're dropping from 5 to 1.5, and the pilot cannot fly faster than 140 knots, as the regulations stipulate that this will allow us to actively and accurately identify any potential traffic. So the minima for the special VFR, besides these prerequisites that need to be met in order to get a clearance, are that the ground visibility is 1.5 kilometers and the ceiling cannot be lower than 600 feet. And think about the 600 feet like so, that the minimum flight over terrain is 500 feet. So the regulations assume that we're flying at least 500 feet above the ground, 500 feet above the ground, and below any potential clouds because we cannot enter them. So there is a 100 feet margin between the clouds and the minimum legal altitude. So this means that the ceiling, which is always measured from the ground, is 600 feet. And that is the correct answer. Now, during an approach, the pilot notices PAPI lights, which is a precision approach path indicator. And the closest light to the runway is illuminated red, and the three lights furthest from the runway are illuminated white. So, what is happening to an aircraft? So, PAPI lights are designed like so, and that they will give us a specific approach angle. Usually, this will be 3 degrees, but this can be slightly shallower or slightly steeper depending on the particular aerodrome. These can always be found in the AIP. So if you go to the section of aerodromes, find the aerodrome in question, it will always tell you if the puppies exist, which angle they are tuned for. The ideal situation, so you are on the glide path, that means that the two lights are too white and too red. If you have three white, that means you're too high, and four white, that means you are way too high. The same goes to red. If you have three red and one white, that means that you are slightly below, and four red, that means that you are very below. In terms of the approaches, if you have four white or four red, that will usually mean that you're unstable and it calls for a go route. So in the case that there are three lights, um, three white lights, that means that the aircraft is above the approach slope. If the lights were red, that would mean that we are below. According to standard European rules of flight, rules of air, what are the regulations concerning the use of psychoactive substances such as alcohol by the flight crew? So these can be read in detail in EASA's Easy Access Rules, Part Cat, I believe MPA 170 and 171. So if you're more interested into the actual regulations, go into the Easy Access Rules, 170. And there are quite a few things that are worth remembering for both the exams and your future flying in terms of psychoactive substances. So surprisingly, the law allows some levels of alcohol in the blood, and this is 0.02%, similarly to driving a car. However, most airlines, and rightfully so, will decrease this legal allowance to zero in the operations manual. Also, the legal limit for drinking alcohol before the flight, time-wise, is 8 hours. However, the airlines here, also rightfully so, will usually extend this limit to 12 and sometimes even 24 hours before your duty. Um, so now remembering this, of course, the flight crew should never fly under the influence of psychoactive substances or alcohol, as this impedes the safety. So this question might be quite straightforward, and the answer may be obvious. However, remember that you cannot fly 8 hours or earlier than 8 hours after consuming the substances of alcohol, and there is a permissible limit of 0.02% of alcohol in your blood. In case of this question, of course, so this question, the answer number is A. The first answer, can trick us into selecting it. However, the crew should never be under control under the influence of substances and when the performance is impaired. So I believe this answer makes the most sense. It does. So in the question number 5, during cruise, a climbing resolution advisory is triggered with an instruction 1,500 feet per minute, and the pilot realizes that the other aircraft is climbing as well. How should the pilot respond? So resolution advisory, this is referring to ACAS 2. Remember that the transponder mode Sierra is necessary in this case, and these always need to be followed. These are not advisory, these are compulsory warnings. The resolution advisory always needs to be followed, and even if you see the other aircraft, remember that you might not see the correct aircraft. So trust the instrument. The resolution advisory are permitted to not be followed in case there is a wind shear, stall, or a ground proximity warning. In other cases, they always need to be followed according to how they are displayed on the navigation display. And going to the last question, an aircraft is on VOR track 332 for a straight-in approach. What runway direction can we expect? So remember that straight-in approach means that we are coming from maximum 30 degrees left or right of the runway center line. And for departures, remember that straight departures are the ones that allow us to go straight with no more than 15 degrees left or right. And also remember that the runway markings are always magnetic and they are rounded to the nearest tenth. So if the runway is positioned to 316, the magnetic direction, the runway would be denominated as 320.